We got some speculating news out of Sixers land. I don't know if you want to call it breaking news because you might have to take it with a grain of salt because it came from Bill Simmons, but it could change the Sixers organization moving forward and for the future. We're going to talk about what it was, how it could impact the Sixers' future. Will it actually happen? But without further ado, here's the intro. What's going on, Cliffhangers? We are back with another video. We are on the road to 5,000 subscribers before the end of 2025. So make sure you hit that like button, you hit that subscribe button down below. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, hit that bell notification down below. Become a part of the Noti Gang so you never miss a video. Get me to 100 likes on this video. Let's get into it. All right, so an interesting note, could be breaking news. We don't know. But Bill Simmons on his podcast said that he could see Bob Meyers looming to become the next general manager of the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, as we all know, Daryl Morey is currently the general manager of the Philadelphia 76ers. So, of course, he would need to either resign, be fired. They would have to part ways in order for Bob Meyers to possibly get that position. Now, the interesting thing that Bill Simmons said was that Bob Meyers was a part of the advisory board that was able to rebuild what we are now seeing in the Washington Commanders in the NFL. We all know they have an NFC Championship game versus our Philadelphia Eagles this coming Sunday. But it's a very interesting tidbit.
You know, Bob Meyers helped Washington with the football team, right? He was on that advisory committee, and I just feel like he's looming with the Sixers thing, and I don't think I'm alone. There's been some Bob Meyers Philly buzz that I think has been building because I think he had a good experience with Josh Harris. If there is a fall guy, which we talked about earlier, it's going to be Nick Nurse and Daryl Morey.
Now, Bob Meyers, as you all know, is the general man. He was the general manager of those Warriors teams, of that dynasty that we know of Steph, Clay, Draymond, then adding Kevin Durant. He was the general of that. He was the architect of that. He built all of that. And currently, right now, he's doing segments on ESPN, prior game, middle of the game, and post game, just providing some insight to basketball fans on ESPN. And like I said, the only way that this is possible is if Daryl Morey decides in the Sixers that they decide they want to part ways or he gets fired at the end of the season, because they did just give Daryl Morey a contract extension this offseason for, I think, 3 more years. So it will be really tough to see this shaking out. But I don't know, as we've all been talking about, the Sixers fans and everybody on Twitter and everybody out there, like they might have to go into a rebuild because we see what this season has turned out to be. The decline with Joel Embiid, he can never play. The bad roster construction, everybody's always hurt. Maybe that's not all on Daryl Morey, but this was his entire plan last season, and pretty much throwing that season away was the cap space plan to build a championship contender, to get Paul George, and it just hasn't turned out that way. So a lot of people have been saying like they might as well just rebuild, start over, go into a better process era, and then just rebuild that way in an era without Joel Embiid and Paul George. Now, y'all know me, I got some thoughts on this. Y'all know people on Twitter was already arguing about it. Would they want Bob Meyers? Would they still want Daryl Morey? And there's some pros and cons. These are just my thoughts on it. I did see some people saying that Bob Meyers was a terrible drafter. Now, being a bad drafter for an NBA GM is not something that you want at all, especially if you're going into a rebuild that we all expect the Sixers to go into after this season. And Bob Meyers was the one who drafted Jonathan Kuminga. He drafted James Wiseman when LaMelo Ball was on the board. He was the one who drafted Moses Moody as well when he could have made some better picks there. But you can't I'm just not going to knock him for all of that, right? He was still the architect behind building that Golden State Warriors dynasty. And he might not be the one that drafted Steph Curry and drafted Klay Thompson, but he was the one that drafted Draymond Green. He was the one that traded for Andre Iguodala. He was the one that traded for Andrew Wiggins. He was the one that signed Kevin Durant. He was the one that also brought D'Lo there. He was the one who got Jordan Poole. Like, he still created a dynasty over there in Golden State and won championships before and after Kevin Durant with Steph Curry. So you can't just completely take away what he has done over there. He's still a good GM. He still built something over there despite him being a maybe average drafter, if you want to call it that, compared to what Daryl Morey has hit on in his past, especially with the Philadelphia 76ers bringing in Tyrese Maxey and studs like Jared McCain. But that's not saying that Bob Meyers can't get some help in that area and build a correct staff around him to help him draft. And maybe he has seen the bad of his past, and he's like, okay, let me get some guys in here that are going to help me draft, help me evaluate talent. Let me get some better scouts in here to decide who will be better for this rebuild of the Sixers. Now, drafting is something that Daryl Morey only does well at this point, right? He gives out bad contracts. He signs old players. He can't build a roster. We know that. We know that's the bad with Daryl Morey. Now, it does that him being a drafter outweigh all of that when you look into the Sixers possibly rebuilding this team compared to what Bob Meyers can do, and you see the trades that he makes, the youth that he's able to bring in, the talent that he's able to see that is already in the NBA outside of drafting? Like, would you do it? I don't know. I would do it because y'all know me, man. I'm a guy that I just want to see some change. I want to see something different with this Sixers team. They need some new juice. They need just to go into a rebuild and build something else. But I would be fine with that. Like I said, it would be hard because then that means Daryl Morey would have to be fired at the end of this offseason. But after just signing an extension, but some tough decisions are going to have to be made with this Sixers team moving forward, going into the offseason, because the way they are playing right now is atrocious. But I'm going to save that for an entirely different video. But let me know what you think. Would you want Bob Meyers in here as a Sixers GM? Would you still want Daryl Morey? Would you want Daryl Morey fired? What do y'all want from the Sixers moving forward? Let me know in the comment section below. I'll holla at y'all.